Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Internet seems to be working. That was the reason we didn't have an episode last week. So
yeah,
all good now. Yeah. What did we do last? Feels like forever ago. We did Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
I mean, love that. Love that movie. Yeah, it's really made me want to actually revisit all of the movies, and I'm still thinking about doing that.
The early ones, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I rewatched the Matt Reeves ones. I actually rewatched last year, and found I really enjoyed them still. So yeah,
I like them a lot. They're good movies. And I think that they sort of get lesser, but then all of those movies kind of do anyway. But the first one I think is great. That is.
Yes, I kind of agree. I think the second one's pretty good as well, though. I like all of them. You're right. Like none of them are terrible.
No.
And I'm hoping. I know this new one is Disney, and that is worrisome. But I am hoping this new one is going to be good.
I mean, it looks pretty good. Some of the effects look not as good as the others, but still looks all right to me. I'm willing to give it a go.
It's starring Freya Allen, right? Which
yes,
after what I watched this week is slightly concerning.
She was she was Siri, wasn't she?
She was Siri, and she's the star of a film that I'm reviewing today. And I don't know if it was the script or the direction or her, but it was not good.
The horror movie that.
Yes, the horror movie.
I saw the trailer for that and thought, oh.
Yeah, there are some old moments. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. Do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I'll start with One Life.
One Life.
One Life. This is the true story of how Nicholas Winton was able to smuggle 600 children out of Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia.
Right.
It's starts in, I think it's 87 or 88. I think it starts in.
Right.
And you've got Anthony Hopkins playing the older version of Nicky, and he's with his wife, and they've got this sort of lovely house, and his wife is going away. So I can't remember where she says she's going, but she's going away for like a week or something. And they're talking about having his daughter is pregnant, and she's going to have a kid, and they're coming over for Christmas, and he's a bit of a hoarder, so he's got boxes of stuff everywhere of all sorts of stuff, and he also has this this book, this sort of volume of stuff that first off, you don't know what it is, but it's got it in this. He's got it in this case, and it's obviously very important to him, and he keeps sort of just they keep mentioning in this thing, and his wife's like, oh, you hang on to things too much. You need to you need to sort things out. Get rid of a load of stuff because you just hang on to useless crap, basically.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, exactly like me. And there's one bit in particular that really stood out for me to illustrate his character. So when he first gets home, he has these collection boxes, charity collection boxes, in his car, and he takes them out and he starts counting the money from them. And in one of them, somebody's put a button.
Right.
And his wife comes in and she says, "Now, why would somebody do that? What an awful thing to do, to a charity box." And he just goes, "Well, it might come in useful," and he puts it in his pocket.
Right. Yeah.
And that just shows his character. He's like, nothing, almost everything is useful. Yeah. And I thought, I have a terrible tendency to do that. It's like
I do with obsolete cables and electronic equipment. I'm terrible for that.
I pick up things like springs.
Springs, screws. Anything like that as well. I
am not mechanically minded in the slightest.
Yeah, but the amount of times that I've been like, oh, I could just do with a bit of wood, and I'm like, I do have a random bit of wood.
I can just about you know, replug a appliance. I could do that, and I could just, you know, change light bulbs and things. But then bugger asking me to do anything else. But like stupid bits of like wire and springs and stuff. Well, that might come in useful one day. And my wife's like, put it down, leave it alone.
Just don't.
Anyway, you find out that this file he's got, his wife basically says you should give it to a museum or something, you know. And it's the file is basically the sort of complete record of this these train journeys that they brought the kids through right. Europe, and it's all the sort of names of all the children and photos of all the kids and you know, who they were given to and things
actually like really important stuff, not junk.
Yeah, it's that's the thing, and it's clear that this thing is weighted on him. And then you sort of basically
is that like a reason? Is that a potential reason for his hoarding, like the kind of, you know, trauma of past events?
No, it sort of gives it's. I think it's partially that, but it also gives it. I think it's just the nature of
just his nature to okay.
Yeah, so he's you basically then go back to the sort of, I think it's 1938, and the young Nicky is played by Johnny Flynn. Who I like Johnny Flynn. He's a folk singer that sort of became this actor, and he's actually really good. He's surprising. He's very good at playing. I can't remember what the name of the movie is. He plays his villain in one of them. He's really good, but he's a surprisingly good actor. I don't know why it should be surprising, but it is. He's a very good actor, and he did the theme tune to Detectorists. Did you ever watch the Detectorists?
I don't think so.
It's a really funny British comedy about a local group of detectorists and the sort of stupid shit they do, and the you know, the things that they find, and it's really it's got oh my god, what's his name? The guy with the funny eyes from The Office.
The guy with the funny eyes from The Office?
Yeah, the big eyes, you know.
Oh yeah, the guy who plays Gareth in The Office.
Yes,
I don't know his name.
It's got him in it, and Toby Jones.
Okay.
It's really funny. Anyway, besides the point. Anyway, so young Nicky, he is I think he works for he works in the city. He's a I don't think he's either a sort of an accountant or something, but he works for the stock exchange and stuff.
Right.
And he's been sent to Czechoslovakia, I think, to sort of sort out these offices that. He's there to sort out the paperwork for the offices of this Czechoslovakian company, and when he gets there, it's a complete mess, and he sees that there are all these families that have basically run away from where the Nazis have already sort of taken over, because basically at this point the war hasn't started yet, but it's Hitler had asked for, I think it's the Sudetenlands, that he'd asked for parts of the Sudetenlands, and basically Europe was like, okay, you know, if we give you these, you'll be okay. You won't do anything else stupid, right?
You promise?
Yeah, you promise you'll be a good boy and you'll keep to Germany and you won't come out of Germany and stuff. So they get.
You promise you won't want to expand this across the whole world, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Promise.
So they do that, and of course the Jews basically in those areas flee, and they end up in Yugoslavia, and they're already, you know, they've already moved around a lot anyway. And now they're living in, you know, terrible sort of wooden huts and shacks and in mud, and they're starving, but there are children everywhere, and he's utterly appalled at the conditions of this thing, and the children, he sort of he gives some chocolates to some children, and of course he then gets mobbed by loads of them, and it's like, this is too much, and he goes into this sort of office and he says, what is the deal with this? Why is what's going on? Why haven't you know why haven't these they've been given food or given better accommodation? It's like, well, there's nothing for them. There's no one here. No one's giving them any money.
Yeah.
It's like and like there's just crappy paperwork everywhere. It's just an impossible situation. And he decides, no, I must do something. So he starts organizing stuff, and it's the people who work there are like, they don't understand why he's doing what he's doing. It's like, why are you doing this? It's like, this isn't your problem. You're just like you're just an accountant basically. You're here just to sort the paperwork out. He's like, no, I can do more. So he basically, through his mother in back in London, who's played by Helena Bonham Carter, with the help of his mother basically, she goes to the government departments and she starts asking for help, and they discover that each child has to basically pay like £50 for their transport, and they have to have a sponsor once they get to London. So they now have to find 50 quid for each kid and a family that will take them in.
Yeah.
And, meanwhile, the Nazis are gearing up to do what they're going to do. So you get these really wonderful sort of scenes of them doing that, and trying to sort of make sense of everything and sort everything out. And you get these wonderful scenes with Anthony Hopkins, going through his papers and burning his papers and stuff, and shuffling around in his house and things. And there's this. It's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but one of his regrets is that he never knew what happened to the kids after. So
right.
He never knew what happened to the kids, and his biggest sort of, for him, it's shame, is that he only managed to get 600 out. And that's he never mind that what he did was almost an impossible task. He still could have done more, and it shames him,
right?
That he just didn't. He thinks that he could have done so much. He could have saved all of them, and really he couldn't. There was no way he could have possibly, saved them. But he gets sort of ambushed by That's Life. Did you ever watch That's Life when you were a kid?
No, I didn't.
So there was a TV show called That's Life in England, or in Britain, which was it was a kind of weirdly satirical and topical show that dealt with all sorts of things. Like 1 week they would have like a dog that could say sausages and things like that,
right.
And then they would be talking about how some grannies had been ripped off, or it's sort of like almost like a consumer program as well. So it was like, and they tell you terrible stories of real life tragedies, but then they would do like weird polls, like go and talk to people on the streets about whether you should be a vegetarian or not, or whether really
Sure.
weird stuff like that. It was a really weird program, and it was hosted by Esther Rantzen,
right?
And on this particular which I'm pretty sure I remember this episode as a kid. He gave the file to someone, and I think it was Robert Maxwell's wife, and she gave it to them, and he gets sort of, he's told to come into the studio to sort of verify this document, and he's like, at first he's a bit like, well, I shouldn't need to, but sure, I'll come in, sort of thing. And he goes in, and one of the children that he saved is in the audience.
Right.
Obviously, but next to him, she sat next to him for the whole, show. And at the end, she says, this person, you saved this person, and another. And then, later on, they do another show where there's even more of them. But it's it's a really lovely tribute to this wonderful man, and it's not something it's not as big and sort of I guess showy. I don't want to say showy because that sounds a bit rude, but it's not Schindler's List. It's not as
Sure.
It's not as big and sort of kind of epic, which is if you could use that word for what is a kind of an important movie really. But it has that.
I mean, it's Spielberg. Spielberg has his style, right?
And it has that sort of amount of historical importance. I think that it's good to show what people are capable of and when they're pushed and what they can do and how wonderful it is. And even though this guy saved this amount, that he was so appalled that he still feels that he never did enough.
Yeah.
And it's a really wonderful. I mean, it's Anthony Hopkins. I mean,
Anthony Hopkins on his worst day is superb.
I mean, Anthony Hopkins. We'll talk about him again later on, but in another movie, which but he's so, and it brought to me the oh my word. Oh my fucking brain. The movie I watched the other week with oh my god, he's like my favourite actor and my brain is just completely gone.
I don't know. Move forward.
Yes. Anyway, his performance, it's just that how with how old he is now and how sort of how wonderful this performance is, and how
I mean, the father was a wonderful
I think I think there was a time when Anthony Hopkins was kind of phoning it in for a while.
He's definitely past that now. I feel like since he kind of gave up on the Marvel stuff, he's kind of like got back into actually.
Yeah, and I think leading up to the Marvel movies, there was a period where he was just sort of turning up, mumbling his lines, and
the thing is, for an actor like Anthony Hopkins, like him phoning it in is still kind of a step up on most people. But you can certainly tell that in more recent years he's really found a passion again, and he's certainly been taking some heavy roles, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and this is a pretty heavy role, and I think it's nice. It's for the most part nicely balanced between the two time zones as well. Everybody's doing really well.
Yeah,
Michael Caine, for fuck's sake, Michael Caine. The last movie of Michael Caine.
The war-ish movie.
The last movie of Michael Caine where he said this is it now, he's going to retire, and so this sort of kind of, though Anthony Hopkins hasn't said he's retiring, this did feel like that. It was very much felt like someone. This is going to sound mean. Towards the end of their life, say, but still, able to perform a beautiful and moving role.
Yeah, I don't think that's rude to say. I mean, that's
character.
It's life.
Yeah, and sort of everybody else. You got Romola Garia, who's sort of the head of this Czech sort of offices that are trying to sort of get them out. I think I would have kind of liked to have seen more stuff with the sort of with the children and stuff a bit more, but I guess you didn't really need it. It's pretty devastating enough as it is. But it's really good. It's a really wonderfully put together and moving movie. James Pauls is the director. I'm not sure whether I've seen anything by him before, but he does an absolute splendid job here. It's just really top-notch, sort of emotionally, I guess, emotionally manipulating movie that I think needs to be seen. It's a really, really good enjoyable movie. It's a really well made, beautifully done movie that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah,
you know,
that sounds interesting.
It's bad as you could say, thoroughly enjoyed, but it's a really good movie.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I will definitely be checking this out. I kind of feel like similar to Michael Caine, although Michael Caine until recently has turned up in some real shite.
Oh yeah, Michael Caine's never made any bones about it. He's done stuff.
Yeah, and fair enough. I mean, he's done that throughout his career anyway. He's had periods where he's done, nonsense. Yeah. But Anthony Hopkins tends to do good movies these days. And I feel like anytime a movie of his comes along, I will watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's definitely seems to have sort of maybe sort of settled into himself again or something. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, it must be. I imagine it's difficult. You're kind of known as a famous actor, and then the older you get, the more you're like, well, can I play older roles? Am I, like, what do I do? I imagine it is quite a transition you have to make. Especially for women, but women in Hollywood are obviously treated awful, in terms of the roles you're going to get and the way you're going to be, perceived. But I imagine it's
what they say about women is like you're either the young girl or you're the old lady.
That's pretty much.
No in between is what they used to say. But
yeah, it seems to be that way, or I guess it's getting less and less. But it certainly seemed that way for a long time. But I imagine men have a somewhat similar issue of that kind of your identity if you're known for
Well, I think especially if you're the sort of heartthrob actor, you're basically the face. Mm-hmm. Once the face starts getting a little craggier,
yes, that's
the
true.
roles are different.
Yeah, well,
becomes. I mean, let's face it. When you've got some of the roles, even like Connery or Roger Moore, when they're still pairing them with really young women.
Oh yeah, that gets really weird.
It does.
It gets really creepy and weird.
I've got no problem with age different relationships.
No,
but when you see it on screen, sometimes it just doesn't work.
It depends on the ages they're trying to portray. That's the But yes, I agree. But yeah, I will definitely be checking this one out at some point. Where to go next? I guess I'll go with the most recent film to be released that I saw this week, which was Baghead from So this is it's if you've seen the trailer, you pretty much know what the movie is.
Yeah, I thought the trailer looked interesting.
It's a short hour and a half horror movie. It very much wants to be Talk to Me.
Okay.
In its so the plot is old man owns a pub, and in that pub, in the basement, there is a hole in the wall, and out of this hole in the wall comes this creature with a bag on its head, and if placed in this chair and strapped down in the chair, this creature can, at least in theory, become or allowed to inhabit a dead person. So people are kind of desperate to see this creature to speak to their dead relatives.
So it's kind of like a channeling medium then.
In theory, yes, but it's this kind of creature.
Gotcha.
And the bag, so it has a bag on its head, and when it becomes the intended person, the person has passed away, they remove the bag, and then it looks like that person. The trick or the problem is that after 2 minutes, the creature becomes more powerful, and then ultimately starts deceiving people and lying and fucking with people's minds. But initially you get 2 minutes to talk to your dead relative, and in some cases you may want to find out how they died or what they thought, or if they're doing okay, that kind of stuff. So that's the idea. So the old man has this pub. He's well aware of the curse of Baghead, and that it's not all sunshine and roses. This is a creature that wants to escape and kind of terrorize the world, and was imprisoned in the in the basement of this pub, and has for generations been kept in check by, basically someone who owns the pub. The idea being that if you own the pub, you inherit the curse, and you continue looking after or containing Baghead. And if this is the start of the movie, we see the father is basically he's had enough. Peter Mullen playing Owen Lark. He basically films a video and he's like, if you see this, I'm dead, and I've probably failed because you're inheriting this pub. And we see that he basically tried to burn the pub down, set himself on fire, and died.
Okay.
Cut to some time later, and we meet Iris Lark, played by Freya Allen, and her friend Ruby. Her friend Katie, played by Ruby Barker. So Freya Allen's Iris is the daughter of Owen Lark, and she learns that they are estranged. She hasn't spoken to him for years. She learns that she's now inherited this pub. She is a broke student, or wanting to be a student. I think her and Katie both kind of live in poverty, and she has, I forget where she wants to go now. I think it was film college or something like that, or art college. I think it might be an art college. She aspires to become this artist, and she wants to go to university and whatnot. And obviously, Katie wants to get out of her situation. So upon hearing that Iris has inherited this, whatever she's inherited, I think at this point she doesn't even know what she's inherited. She jumps on a plane and heads over to visit this building. She gets there, sees that it's this big pub, and immediately there's a man there who's like, I will literally buy this place off of you because it's a pain in the ass running a pub. You don't want to run a pub. You're a kid. It'll be a nightmare. So, we'll just get it on the market and we'll get it sold. This is what I do. My business does this. He's obviously creepy from the start. It's pretty clear that he's not, do you know what I mean? Vibes. Yeah. People give off vibes. So she says, well, I need to think about it. And later that night, an obviously psychotic man who, for some reason, Iris decides to start trusting, turns up. We saw him earlier in the movie, actually. He turned up when Owen was alive. He turns up to the pub regularly and begs to see Baghead. He comes in and he basically begs her to see Baghead. She doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, but he said, he begs her. He basically says, like, I need to see what's in your basement. I want to see what's in your basement. He offers her £2,000, and so she agrees. She's like, well, you've just broken into my pub. Go away. Come back tomorrow, and I will let you see her for £2,000. Bring the money. So he does. And Katie turns up. They go down in the basement and they see Baghead, this creature that comes out of the wall. Then Katie's like, "What the fuck is this?" And Iris is kind of shocked, I guess. But they quickly, well, Katie never accepts it. Iris is all too quick to accept that this is a thing, and it's just like, okay, there's just a creature that comes out of the wall with a bag on its head and becomes a dead person. Fine. She sees it as a money-making scheme because she's a desperate student. She needs money. Ignoring the fact that she could have just fucking sold the pub.
Yeah.
Apparently that's not good enough. She's gonna make like $4 grand a night, letting psychopaths in to go into the basement and speak to their loved ones. So the movie kind of goes on from there. I don't want to spoil it or whatever. There are twists and turns. I thought that the twists and turns were telegraphed. They were very obvious. Yeah. Neil is clearly a psychopath. The moment you meet him, he's clearly going to betray you. But Iris, of course, accepts it. This movie's got some nice ideas. Like I said, it kind of feels like a cheap Talk to Me movie, really. The effects, some of them are quite
made at the same time.
It may have been, I don't know. But they share similar themes. You remember that year that Dredd came out? The same year that we had
Raid.
The Raid. Now, those were both great movies. In this case,
I was going to say, yeah, that's a bad example because those are both.
Well, it's an example of two films that came out at the same time. That does
true.
happen. I mean, it is sometimes a coincidence, and it may be a coincidence in this case. Yeah,
that's kind of why I asked whether they were being done at the same time.
It may have been. But the effects of the movie, some of the effects are not bad. They go from like not bad to like 2005 Doctor Who. It's kind of somewhere around that kind of region.
Yeah.
The biggest issue with this movie is the script and the acting. Honestly, well, I can't decide. I was watching it and I just couldn't decide whether Freya Allen just wasn't very good in this role, or whether it was just written and directed in such a way that she wasn't really given a chance to act in the role properly. Her performance comes across really kind of stilted, like she doesn't really care. She comes across like a complete bitch the entire movie. She's thoroughly unlikable the entire film, and is just a dickhead from the moment you meet her until the end of the movie. It's very hard to like her. She is like clearly, she clearly needs money, which is fine. She now owns a pub. Someone's offered to basically take care of it and sell it for her and give her the money. All too happy to sign on the dotted line to get rid of it, and basically get rid of it for her and give her the money. She refuses to basically, instead of taking that money, which she legally is owed, selling a pub that big, probably even if you just sell the property, you would make a lot of money. Rather than do that, she's happy to just basically take advantage of people and fuck them over, take their money to talk to a fucking demon in the basement instead of just selling the pub and making your money that way. So it's really hard to have any kind of care or love for this character. She just comes across as thoroughly unlikable. She hates her father at first because she thinks that he abandoned her and her mother. And obviously, as the movie comes along, she comes to realize that that's not the case. He left them out of the way so that the demon thing couldn't get to them, and that's all kind of fine. She finds the videotapes and stuff. The biggest problem with the movie is that our protagonist, or supposed protagonist, I absolutely hated. I couldn't stand her. She was awful. Katie, her friend, probably the only person in the movie I have any time for. She is the audience. She's there like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is really dumb. Like, what? Like, did you not see what I just saw? Like there's like a demon in your basement. Why are you even?
At least you've got somebody to root for.
Yeah. So she is that. Ruby Barker, I think, does the best she can with that role, and she does become probably the only likable character in the movie. Jeremy Irvin as Neil. Fine performance. He's just obviously a psychopath from the moment you meet him. So it just makes it even more infuriating because it just makes Iris look stupid because she just goes along with him, even though he's obviously mental. Like, why would you ever think, And I don't even know if is it even a spoiler to say that he ultimately betrays them, because like from the moment this guy turns up, you're like, he's obviously going to betray you. This is a terrible idea, So yeah, it's got some nice ideas. It's got some creepy little moments. But ultimately, I think it could be that this film came out at the same time as Talk to Me, or that it was being made at the same time. And fair enough if that's the case. It probably, certainly given the release time frame, it's unlikely that one ripped off the other. It's probably just a coincidence. But unfortunately, Talk to Me did far better of a job with this kind of material than this film does. Primarily having a likable protagonist and a
I mean, she is likable despite the fact that she does some stupid shit too.
She does some stupid shit, but you understand why, and ultimately she wants to do the right thing. Here, it feels like Iris just wants to exploit people for money, and it's kind of like, well, you're just horrible, aren't you, really? You're basically taking advantage of people that are grieving for their dead loved ones and just taking their cash.
Got Saffron Burrows in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got. I mean, Peter Mullen's a great actor. It's got some great actors in it.
Peter Mullen is another one of those actors that turns up in quite terrible movies, but is usually
he's good in them. Yeah.
plays Mr. Angry and you know,
yeah,
and does pretty well at that.
So, you know, ultimately, it's really short, and, you know, at some point it'll probably be on a streaming site for you to watch, and, you know, it'll pass the time. You may disagree. I just found, unfortunately, the protagonist thoroughly unlikable and stupid, and it makes it hard to root for someone. When you think, A, they're just being horrible and manipulative and exploitative towards people that are grieving for loved ones that have passed away. Yeah. And B, when they're just really stupid, which, you know, is sometimes par for the course with horror films, of course. I mean, the slasher genre is made, you know,
as
many millions out of stupid people.
As we've said before, it's different with slasher movies. It's different because you're kind of praying for them all to die. So
I was praying for her to die. Because pretty much from the first like 10-15 minutes I was like, yeah, if you die that would be good. You know, let Katie take over. So yeah, I cannot can I recommend it? I can't really recommend it. It was stupid. It did kind of entertain me. You know when a film's kind of really bad but you're kind of entertained even though it's really bad?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. But yeah, I don't recommend it as a quality horror film, let's put it that way.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah. So what else have you watched?
I would go with Anyone But You.
Anyone But You.
So with all the sort of fuss that seems to be being made of Sydney Sweeney recently.
Yeah, I didn't even know who she was, and now I just keep seeing news stuff about her come up.
I was like, I don't know who this woman really is, and I don't know why everybody seems to be making such a fuss about her.
But the thing is, I generally, unless it's like movie news, I generally won't read news or click on news or anything. So I keep seeing her name come up, but I don't have any real context other than some people really seem to like her, some people seem to really hate her. But she's definitely of the moment, isn't she? She's certainly
a lot of people seem to be liking her because of her reaction to the Madam Web stuff. That, you know, Madam Web came out.
She was very honest, wasn't she?
It was fucking awful, and I think actually most of the actresses were all like, "Yeah, we were in a shit movie. We know we were in a shit movie."
Yeah,
and you know, just
that's
either
the way
enjoy it or don't.
That's the way to do it. Like Halle Berry for Catwoman turning up and accepting her award. Yeah. That's class.
Yeah.
You know,
so she sort of endeared herself to a lot of people, and I think she sort of released some sort of, I don't know, TikToks or whatever the fucking it is, that her fixing a car and stuff. Whether that is really her fixing a car or what, but she's kind of angled herself as a sort of, hey, I'm a normal woman who likes fast cars and fixing cars, and you know, and I've got a sense of humor and stuff. Which is sort of seems to be lacking in a lot of actresses right now, who are, you know, like, my movie was really good, you're a racist, like, or whatever, you know, you're a sexist for not going to see it. And stuff.
just accept that it was a bad movie.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm sure like there are people that are racist or sexist that won't watch good films like that. But when you know it's a bad movie, like, come on.
And So I thought, well, I don't think I've seen her in anything, and it turns out I had seen her in something, which was Nocturne, which is a horror movie that was part of the Prime Videos.
Yeah, they did that horror. With almost like anthology.
Which they haven't done for a couple of years. They sort of did it for sort of 2 years, and it was they sort of released a couple of, I think, like 4 movies a year, which would, you know, for the most part, a bit hit and miss. But I remember actually quite enjoying this one. This was a sort of cursed music sort of score, and sort of and I thought I remember her being quite good in it. So, but I saw that this was being touted as a good rom-com, which, you know, in recent times, actual good rom-coms have been pretty fucking sparse. You know, because I think for most of it, the sense of humor seems to be lacking in a lot of them. So this is basically,
which is an integral part of the rom-com.
Exactly,
50% of your point of existing there.
Yeah. So this is Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell, who he seems to be sort of making himself a name as a sort of as the cocky shithead character at the moment, which works really well for him because he certainly plays the cocky shithead in this, which is quite good. So he plays Ben, she plays B, and this is kind of like something like oh god, I nearly said Mean Girls then, not Mean Girls. Oh my good lord. Okay, it's basically a reworking of a Shakespeare play.
Right.
So this is it's basically a reworking of not the Taming of the Shrew. Is it As You Like It? Oh my good lord. Much Ado About Nothing. So
okay.
It's a reworking of Much Ado About Nothing.
I did that in school a long time ago, and I've forgotten most of it. But yeah.
I remember the Branagh version.
Oh
from
yeah.
From the 90s, I think it was early 90s, and that's got a massively good cast in it. It's got like Keanu Reeves and Emma Thompson and Denzel Washington, Michael Batman dude, Michael Thingy. Keaton. Jesus Christ, my brain and names today.
Don't do names. Keaton. Just don't do them.
It's got that's a really good version.
Yes, I've only watched it the once, but I have fond memories of it.
Yeah, so this kind of takes the sort of core elements of it. So basically, at the very beginning, B and Ben, they sort of meet over. She goes into a coffee shop and she's desperate to use the facilities, and of course the coffee shop people are like, it's only for customers, can't use it, blah, 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 sort of thing. And he is at the head of the queue, and he sort of watches her sort of basically getting told to piss off, and he says, "Oh honey, I've just ordered you a tea. Where would you like to some like bread to go with that?"
Right.
Sort of thing, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So he pretends that she goes to use the bathroom, she spills water on herself, she's in there for ages trying to dry her crotch with the hand dryer, which is actually very funny. She comes out, they have a sort of meet cute thing, they go for a walk. Things move on, they end up at back at his, and they seem to have a genuine connection and a genuine moment. However, the next morning, she sort of sneaks out, but she's with the intention of coming back, but she sneaks out and he thinks she's gone.
Right.
His mate comes in, and his mate says, "Oh, you told her the story about your mother or something," and it's like, "That's weird." And he's like, "Oh, no, nothing like that. I couldn't wait to get rid of her, But as he's saying that, she's kind of walking through the door. So she hears him say that, it was just one of those things, he couldn't wait to boot her out the door. So she immediately turns around and walks off. So some time passes, and B is going to be going to her sister's wedding. Now, her sister, Haley, she is going to be marrying Claudia, and Claudia has best friends, and one of those best friends turns out to be Ben. So they're all going to this wedding in Australia.
Right.
So, they have a thing on the plane where, he's in first class and she's in coach, and, he's basically, he comes up and is a bit of a dick to her, and she kind of is a dick to him too.
Well, yeah. So the conceit is that they both hate each other because they think the other betrayed them, right? Yeah.
Okay. And like those sort of those Shakespearean farces, you get things like them, their family trying to set them up while her family is adamant that she should be marrying this guy that has been kind of part of their family for years, and they fly him in, and he has no idea that she doesn't know he's coming, and they kind of agree to, let's pretend we're a couple so that we're not ruining your sister and my friend's wedding sort of thing, and So obviously it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's it is a farce. What it actually is other than quite cringy at times, it's actually a very well done, very funny rom-com. It's a genuinely good rom-com. I really enjoyed it. Both her and both Sweeney and Powell are great leads.
Well, I was going to say, I think that's probably what makes this film, isn't it? You know, having two leads that are that likable really helps. Mm-hmm.
They're both massively charming. She's really sweet and lovely, and her characters, she's her family has kind of pressured her into being a lawyer.
Yeah.
But she is already given up being a lawyer. She's left she's left the university, but she hasn't told her family that. But she has told Ben. So when they had when they were at their initial moment, she told him all about that sort of stuff, and he, they had a genuine connection. They told stuff that each other's things that they haven't told anybody else, sort of thing. So you have that sort of the sort of tension of that going through it, and the cast is so great. You've got Dermot Mulroney plays her dad. Rachel Griffiths is playing her mum. You've got what's his bloody Brian Brown playing his her the intended father and stuff. It's really got a really good cast who are all sort of they all know what sort of movie they're in. They're all being a little silly, but in mostly the right amount. There was only one fucking character that truly did my head in, and that was Gatta. His real name's Gatta. Okay, he's playing Pete, who is the brother. I think he's the brother of Claudia.
Right.
He was fucking insufferable. But I mean, I think he's supposed to be insufferable. He's like that. He's one of these sort of save the earth, bloody, chill out type people. But he's fucking annoying. And there's a really odd bit. He keeps talking about saving the planet and being like kind to animals and stuff, right? But there's this bit where he's got a puppet fox, and he's encouraging a dog to rip the fox apart.
What?
Yeah, which is really fucking weird. I mean, it comes in later because a little bit of a spoiler. There's a moment where they have to collect this cake, and the cake is put down on the table, and it's put on top of this fox toy, and the dog, of course, grabs the fox toy, pulls the cake over. But that was like, okay, that seems a bit weird for someone who wants to save the planet and loves animals.
Yeah.
That he would try and train his dog to rip apart foxes. Fine, all right. But that aside, his awful character and that weird little bit, it's a genuinely funny, sweet movie. Like I would recommend it to anybody who loves rom-coms.
Yeah.
She's really charming. He's great, and I know people have made a big thing about her boobs.
Right.
She makes a big thing about her boobs. Every outfit in this movie just accentuates her cleavage.
Okay.
The girls are on display almost constantly in this movie, which I'm not mad at. But I kind of see the point that people make about her. And I was more than happy to see the extent of her bubs going around, but it does help that she's actually really lovely, and she's a really she's a. I mean, I'm not saying she's a fantastic actress because it's. I don't think the role demands.
Well, I mean, charm can go a long way, though, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. She's let's just say, from what I've seen of her, she's really good in this. She was good in the horror movie that I saw. So
yeah,
I'd be more than happy to watch her in other movies. And
well, we'll see where she goes, I guess.
And I think Glenn Powell's,
he's great. I really enjoyed him in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, he was really good in Top Top Gun as the new Iceman.
The
basically.
new Iceman. He was almost cockier than Iceman in many ways,
cockier
which is
than
saying something. But yeah, I thought he was great in that, and I'm glad he's getting more roles. And I'm glad. I mean, ultimately, I'm glad that everyone coming out of Madam Web has got other work. It's not the actresses or the actors' fault that necessarily that a film is terrible. So yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend that. I think it was a lovely little rom-com.
Oh, great. Well, a movie that I will recommend quite highly if it's your kind of thing. A film I have been meaning to watch for well over a month and a half now. My housemate actually bought it on Blu-ray before we moved house, and he gave it to me the week we found out we had to move house. And I was going to watch it, and then obviously all that happened, and then I packed it, and then it was packed, and and then you unpack and you don't know where things are. And then finally I was like, oh yeah, there it is. I knew I packed it somewhere. Project Wolf Hunting. Korean, action horror movie. And this one, well, I think you have to be a certain kind of person to like this movie. I think our audience probably are that kind of person. So, this film is basically it's kind of 2 or 3 movies in one, really. It effectively is Con Air but on a boat. But then also there's a monster. So basically the idea is there are a bunch of Korean criminals in the Philippines. They're getting taken from the Philippines back to Korea to face justice. They're on this prison boat, but also on this boat there is there's some Resident Evil stuff going on in the basement.
Cool.
Yeah, genetic experiments, good fun. So they do actually set this up quite early on that there is a superhuman thing in the basement. But this movie does a great job of kind of showing you that, the doctor comes on board and he sees this experiment and he's like, what's going on? And they're like, you just do what you're told to do and leave. You don't question anything. Okay. There's obviously something weird going on there. But then the movie is just a really over-the-top crazy action movie to where you almost forget that dude's in the basement. And until about, I don't know, halfway, 3/4 of the way through, when he suddenly shows up again, and you're like, oh yeah, there was a superhuman creature in the basement. I forgot about that. And then it becomes more of a horror movie. What this film is, really, when you boil it down, this film is an excuse for the most ludicrous gore effects you have ever seen in your life. This movie has so much gore. It's practical gore as well that is extremely well done. This movie is absolutely brutal. Even without the monster being involved. The criminals taking over the prison ship, the gunfights, the hammers, the knives, everything. You know when a movie, you get those kind of movies when someone's got I don't know, someone's got a sledgehammer.
Yeah. And
they lift the sledgehammer over someone's head and they're going to bring it down, and then as they bring it down the camera pans away. This film does not do that. This film is going to show you the full effects of that sledgehammer, multiple hits of that sledgehammer
on you then.
Yeah. Every gunshot, every knife stab wound, everything.
One of the trivia things on this one has got according to the director, 2.5 tons of blood was used throughout the production of this movie.
I can 100% see that being the case. There is a scene when a guy walks around a corner and he just sees the amount of gore on the floor and he is just like, Jesus fucking Christ, what is going on? This is just an excuse for gore and action, but it is I think it's unashamed in its acceptance of that fact. It's both a great silly action movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, is extremely gory and violent, and then a pretty fun monster slasher action movie, you know. As I said, this film knows exactly what it is. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's all style. But it, you know, again, when a film knows what it is and it's just doing what it's doing, if you can get behind it, this film is a lot of fun. And some of the effects in this film are superb. I mean, really superb. In terms of practical effects, they're incredible. Yeah, it sounds like a criticism. It's very hard to know who you're meant to be rooting for in this movie, purely because whenever you tend to think you found a protagonist, they will die in the most horrible and horrific way you could possibly imagine, and then you're on to your next choice of who the protagonist might be.
Here, mate, here's the baton. You carry it to the
because you're like, oh, here's the guy. He's the guy. Oh no, here's the girl. I guess she must be the girl. Oh no, here's the guy. Maybe it's this guy. Yeah, and yeah, you've no idea. But you know, like I said, this movie, you know, bare bones plot.
Yep.
Plenty of silly twists and just more gore than you will see in any movie. Outside of maybe Terrifier, but even then, even Terrifier, even with Terrifier, it's like ludicrously over the top gore. But you know, there's bits in between. This film rarely has a moment where there's not horrific violence happening constantly. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like, you know, just a big old action martial arts horror gore fest. And if that's your kind of thing, if that sounds like your kind of thing, you're gonna like it. If you're coming into this looking for, you know, a hero's journey or a big old deep storyline or anything that's going to take itself particularly seriously, you're not going to find it here. But honestly, I had an absolute blast watching this. This was great. And in hindsight, I should have watched this film during the stress of the move, because it would have been, you know, a pure joy of escapism, you know, for a couple of hours. Yeah, really, really recommend it. It's absolutely nonsensical, but it is a lot of fun. And if you want to see incredible practical effects, married with some pretty good CG as well, like it marries the two very well when it needs to. But there is a lot of practical effects in this that are super.
Is the creature good?
It's a dude, you know.
A dude in a suit.
Well, no, I don't know. It might be a dude with a, yeah, it might just be a big dude. I don't know. He's got, like, you know, prosthetics and stuff on his face,
okay.
And yeah, he's cool enough.
Is it sort of closer to a sort of nemesis type thing than?
Yeah, vaguely, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a
not a monster as such, more of a.
No, it's a guy. It's a superhuman creature. Guy, yeah, like a man who has been experimented on and become a thing,
right.
Rather than, yeah, not like when I said Resident Evil, people were probably thinking, oh, he's got like a massive eyeball coming out of his chest or something. There's nothing like that. It's you know, but yeah, I highly recommend this one. I think you would love this film. I thought of you several times while watching it. I was like, I think Matt would love this movie.
I have seen the trailer. And I did think, okay, I'm going to watch that at some point. So yeah, no, you completely persuaded me.
Yeah, Nick, my housemate, he was the one that kept on about it. He was like, you need to see this movie, and he ended up buying it. He saw, I think he watched a podcast, and it was with one of the producers from Dog Soldiers, and they were saying about how amazing the practical effects are in this movie, which is why he ended up watching it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it came out in 2022. I'm not sure when it actually got released over here, though, so it may be reasonably recent in terms of being released in the UK. But it's available on Blu-ray, probably available to stream if you look it up. And yeah, I highly recommend it. If anything I've just said sounds like the sort of thing you like, you will love it.
Yeah.
If not, it's definitely not for you.
I heard someone slagging off Dog Soldiers the other day.
Defriend them.
Just they weren't. Luckily, they're not someone I know. Thankfully, it was just that they were like, "Oh, it's not scary. The werewolves are terrible.
It's not meant to be scary.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, absolutely not meant to be scary.
They clearly missed the point of this movie.
Yeah, which can happen. I mean, you do see quite a few times people. You know, one of the worst. I think one of the worst victims of that in my lifetime was Starship Troopers. To this day, I still know people that are like, "Oh, it's just a really dumb action movie." I'm like, you have so thoroughly missed the point of that film. It's staggering the amount you've missed the point of that film. My
wife just hates that movie. And
a lot of people do.
She just, no matter how much I try to explain that it's funny and it's, you know, it's over the top for a reason.
And it's an amazing commentary. It's like war propaganda, the movie. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. But you know, sometimes people do miss the point.
You know, even I will admit, even I have sometimes misinterpreted.
Oh, sure, it happens. It happens.
Dog
Soldiers. Dog Soldiers is a surprising one because it really it really just, you know, it wears its heart on its sleeve. It's very clearly what it's meant to be. It's very intentional, you know. It's
a really good siege, but kind of buddy movie.
Now, I guess actually, the only argument I would make to that would be if you watched Dog Soldiers up to the point that they got to the house, and by that point you were like, oh no, this is really tacky, bad horror movie. I might understand it then, but from the point that they get to the house onwards, it is very clearly a comedy, like very clearly.
Yeah.
No, I love Dog Soldiers. You will never hear me say a bad word about Dog Soldiers. It's a great movie.
Not. No, I think that's, again, it's, I don't know if we've said this before as well, but it's one of those things that horror, a lot of people think that horror should just be jump scares.
Well, I hate jump scares in horror movies. I don't think jump scares are scary. So,
I think
there you go.
Most horror movies deserve one good jump scare, but
if it's earned, a jump scare can be effective. I don't think that jump scares are scary. I think they're startling, and I think that more often than not, at least for me, they take me out of the movie. Like, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And also these days, if you've watched as much horror as we have, I can tell a jump scare coming a mile away. Like, you know, the telltale signs, soundtrack goes down, volume down, goes quiet, still frame. Yeah, I know where this is going. Slow pan.
Is there a mirror involved?
Is there a mirror or a cupboard that a cat can jump down from?
Yeah, an open window.
Yeah.
Or...
it's so, you know, it's so telegraphed these days. But you're right. When a jump scare is earned, fantastic. But more often than not, I've never particularly enjoyed the horror films that are just jump scare after jump scare. It does nothing for me. But yeah.
There you go.
Dog Soldiers is great. Let's just talk about Dog Soldiers for the rest of this episode.
Well, I'm sure we'll do Dog Soldiers.
Oh, we will definitely do. I'd like to do The Descent at some point as well. So.
Oh, I love The Descent with the British ending, not the American ending.
Of course. Yeah.
Have you seen the sequel?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, it's fucking awful.
I've heard it's awful, which is why I've never seen it. Because you know when you love a film so much, I loved The Descent, and I thought the ending of The Descent was perfect. Or Descent. It's not The Descent. It's just called Descent, right?
Yeah.
I loved the ending. I thought it was
spoilers for people who haven't seen The Descent. But when I watched the original, I was weirded out that it's like, how can you have a sequel that doesn't make sense?
Yes.
I mean, you could have a sequel if it was all just her under the ground, I guess. But
it's pointless, though. It's just going to be more of the same at that point.
Yeah, the second one is... They clearly just sort of decided... Oh, no. Well, because of the alternate ending, it's why it's got to sit, you know...
Yeah, okay, so the sequel follows the alternate ending, does it?
Yeah, the sequel follows the American ending.
Okay, right. Yeah, that is the lesser of the endings anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. So anyway, what else have you watched?
So, shall we talk about Fallout?
Oh, yeah, we can talk about Fallout. I'd only watched 2 episodes of Fallout last week, but due to the internet dropping out, I've now finished it, so that's good.
I was hoping you had.
Yeah. Well, I thought since you'd watched all of it even as of last week, I thought I would too. I guess where are you with Fallout as a franchise?
Games.
Yeah.
So I have played all of them.
Mm-hmm.
The first two, not as I think I only played the first one like round a friend's house and not properly.
Okay.
And the second one, I think I don't remember it as well.
Okay. And then the Bethesda ones you played more.
Yes, and I like most people, I love New Vegas.
Yes. That is the best of the Bethesda ones for sure.
Yeah. And I like 3 and 4. I have a soft spot for 4. I actually genuinely enjoyed building, the little camps and things for survivors and stuff. And I liked some of the storyline on that one.
I don't hate it. I think my biggest problem with 4 is that for one thing, I have this issue with unless it's like The Witcher, right?
Yeah.
In which case you're playing a known protagonist and it's done very well, and you're like, okay, I am inhabiting this character.
Yeah,
when I am creating my own character in a world, I do not want them voiced. And I know that this is just me, and I know that this is very commonplace now because, of course, even with like Cyberpunk, you're forced down pick a female or male voice that's going to be your character.
Yeah.
It's just a preference thing. I would have preferred just my options to be text, and then I could have my own voice in my head, rather than have it voiced. I didn't mind 4. I think that 3 was. Well, 3 kind of shits the bed towards the end. But 3 had some great moments. I agree. New Vegas is certainly the best of the Bethesda. I know it wasn't Bethesda, but it was under the Bethesda banner games. I'm personally love Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Those are my jam, and I personally would have preferred Fallout stayed isometric and didn't go first person. I understand that that's what Bethesda did by that point. They'd done Terminator, and obviously they'd done the Elder Scrolls series. So first person was their jam. I get it. Yeah. But for me, Fallout was always isometric. So you have some experience with the games, and particularly 4, which this series is clearly mostly inspired by 4.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely more 4 than anything else, I think.
I will say I was impressed with how many references there were back to even the original Fallout games. That there are things in it. Shady Sands is at least mentioned in this, or we see it.
Well, I mean, what they do to it is a bit weird, but sure.
Well, no, I didn't think it was weird. I thought it was fine.
No, it's not weird. It just, I don't know.
It's very.
I guess it's sort of like it's one of those things, isn't it? It's how much do you do to the world when you're moving on, isn't it?
Well, I think it's very Fallout to have something awful happen to a place.
Yeah, that is true.
I guess people are attached to Shady Sands because obviously in Fallout 1 you see Shady Sands and it's just a little shithole place that people are just about scraping by, and then by Fallout 2 it's kind of the Republic and it's becoming a big thing, and obviously I guess people in their head were like, oh, this will become a thing, and then it's like, okay, no, but I think it's very Fallout. So I guess so Fallout is a post-apocalyptic TV series based on a long-running franchise of video games stretching all the way back to like 97-ish. Originally made by Interplay, then Bethesda. So people are there is a war, and it's post-apocalyptic, nuclear. The America, at least, is completely obliterated by nuclear bombs and fallout. So there were vaults created. Certain people were put in vaults, selected to be in vaults, and there is a subplot of experiments, social experiments and different experiments happening to each of those vaults. I was really glad that this show kind of touches on that in a flashback. They talk about, hey, we could do some experiments while we're here, which is again a plot from the games. But people go into the vaults. Generally, in the games and in this film, in this series, we are a vault dweller. So generally the protagonist of the games, and here in the series, you have a vault dweller who is someone who's grown up in the vaults. Generally, they have no idea of how the outside world works. Things are very naive inside the vaults. So when they leave, they have no idea that this radioactive wasteland is just a terrible apocalypse. They've kind of been sold that, you know, they're going to go out and save humanity eventually, and that everything's wonderful in the vaults, and they've got this fake 1950s lifestyle, because that's kind of the idea of the games and this show as well, is that the bombs kind of happened in the 50s, so everything's kind of 50s future aesthetic. Sorry, it's not in the 50s, it's like the future, but it's the future if the 50s had just continued.
It's sci-fi future.
It's like Forbidden Planet. If you think Forbidden Planet, it's basically that technology. It's what we thought the future would look like in the 50s.
It's like original Buck Rogers type stuff.
Yes.
Sort of, you know, laser guns, big bulky sort of laser guns, and
cool looking cars.
You know, cars driven by atomic energy, and
yes, everything's atomic. So here we have Lucy McLean, played by Ella Purnell. She is the vault dweller of choice for this series. We follow her as her vault is invaded, and as a result, she's forced to go and try and rescue her father. Which is very Bethesda-like. Certainly Bethesda Fallout, that's what they've done every time. It's been a family member. So I guess it's right in line with that. She is forced to leave the vault and go to the surface in search of her father. We also meet Maximus, played by Aaron Motten, who is a squire with the Brotherhood of Steel. Now, the Brotherhood of Steel are like this group of awful... awful zealots. They basically are, their religion is technology, and they believe that technology needs to be kept by them, in check by them. Technology like destroyed the world.
Medieval knights.
Yes.
In a sort of over-religious, sort of fanatical way.
Yes, but their religion is technology, effectively.
They want to go into the wilds and salvage as much technology as they possibly can to use to better themselves, basically.
Effectively. They want to be the gatekeepers of all technology. So they have the power armor, which you've probably seen all over the place. If you've never played Fallout or seen Fallout, you've probably seen the power armor. That's kind of
other than the sort of the Pip boy.
That's true.
And the the Vault Tech kid. That the most enduring thing is the armor and those two sort of three things.
But Maximus is a squire, so he's like an underling of the Brotherhood of Steel. He wants to kind of become a full knight, in which case he will get his armor and on all the power armor and whatnot. And then we also have the Ghoul, played by Walton Goggins, who is a ghoul, a once human who has been irradiated and transformed by radiation into a zombie-looking creature. He is a bounty hunter in this film. I keep calling it game film or film or TV show. It's a TV series. So I will say, well, actually, first of all, what did you think of this?
So this is gonna be a difficult one, because there is so much dumb shit in this series.
Yeah,
there is so much. I mean, I hate Titus. I think he's I
liked him.
I think the actor's terrible.
Oh, really? I thought I liked the performance.
But I think it's probably more to do with the fact that his character is terrible.
Do you think? So my takeaway, right? And I will say, like, I don't like Maximus as a person. But the reason I think I like Maximus is, to me, so I was looking at this from like a video game perspective, and I was watching the show, and I was like, do you know what I think they've done really effectively in this TV series is they've given you the three main characters that people play in a Fallout game. You've got the Vault Dweller, the goody two shoes. You've got Maximus, who is basically the like, well, I'm going to be good, but I'm going to be an asshole along the way when it suits me to kind of level up. And then you've got the Ghoul that's like, I'm going to be chaotic. He's like your second playthrough. I'm going to be chaotic, evil.
Shit out of everything.
yeah. And I kind of thought that was done really well in this show, where you basically get the archetypal characters that people tend to create in a Fallout game.
Yeah. I don't think the Maximus character was consistent enough for that, though.
That's fair enough. They did skirt the line of like, well, maybe he is good, but maybe he's not, and
that didn't really work. I mean, however, the other two,
wonderful.
Yeah,
I loved Ella. Ella Purnell is just wonderful as the Vault Dweller. She's so good at that naivety. She just. Yeah, there's something.
And I know other people have said it, but I completely agree. I think the eyes help. She has these massively expressive eyes.
Yeah, she looks like anime in real life.
Yeah, she really does look like an anime character.
I mean, she's beautiful. She's very beautiful. But she does have very large eyes, and you're right. It definitely accentuates that kind of naivety and that hopeful. That hopeful love in her eyes for everything, even though the world is terrible.
Yeah, and I've seen her in a number of movies, and she's been really good in most of the things I've seen her in.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought she was wonderful. And Walton Goggins is
he's Walton Goggins. What do you need to say?
Yeah, exactly. He's wonderful as the Ghoul and as the
Hollywood actor. Yeah, Cooper Howard, I think he plays the Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of the show actually was the flashbacks. I thought the flashbacks were terrific.
Oh, the first episode.
Yes.
With him and his daughter,
and
the bombs going off.
Great.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That I love that when they're literally talking about the fun thing.
Yeah.
And he goes off to get her some cake, and when he comes back, and she's just stood there horrified. No one's noticed the bomb drop.
I know, no one noticed the massive flash.
Yeah,
it's like, okay.
Except for her. And I love that when she says, "Is it your thumb or my thumb?"
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck.
And you get that great moment as well when he's like, "Oh, it's just smoke.
Yeah,
it's not a bomb." And then you see the fire come through the smoke, and you get that great wide shot. That great wide shot when he's riding on horseback, and you just see the bombs going off everywhere. Superb. His performance, both as the Ghoul and as Cooper Howard before becoming a Ghoul, tremendous. Walton Goggins, he's one of those actors. I don't think he gets enough credit, and I really hope that this might, I mean, he gets enough roles, but I always feel like he's always supporting, and then this should really push him.
Yeah, he's really good at he usually plays very good bad guys.
Yes,
but I think he has kind of been squished into that sort of corner. But I think he can definitely do more than that. I've seen him doing better than that. But did you ever watch Justified?
No.
Justified's really good. He plays one of the main sort of bad guys. In that, he's quite a complicated character, but I'd recommend Justified. It's a really good show. He's really good. The aesthetic they completely nailed.
Yeah, they really did.
Perfect. I mean, they've in the background even you've got things like you can see they're like plasma guns and. If you're never get touched. They're just on a wall somewhere.
If you're a fan of the games, you will see everything.
Yeah.
And as you said, just incidental, just junk on the floor. You will see stuff.
Yeah, you get the Grognark, the barbarian thing. You get the
Well, even when even the bits that you almost miss. Like when her father says, "Oh, you're my little sugar bomb," rather than sugar plum. It's like because sugar bombs are a sweet in or like a cereal, aren't they? I think in the Fallout universe. This is chocked full of those little references. I think the film, the world is very well realized. It's done in partnership with Bethesda, but it's probably one of the best video game adaptations I've seen. Certainly.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. I will say there are some really weird fucking decisions and some sort of like things that don't quite make sense within the, you know, how did this happen? How did that exactly happen? And why is like in the beginning when they break into the vault, the
yes.
raiders, the idea is they want Hank, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want the vault thing, but then they sort of don't really do anything to just secure him. They just sort of go off on one, and you could, I know you could say, oh well, they're just bandits and stuff. It's like, yeah, but later on they establish that she's that.
Well, she is
now passes as the remnants of the CN, whatever it is, the California Alliance,
New
thing.
California Republic. Yeah, but
Yeah,
well, I mean,
New
she
California
is,
Republic.
but the rest of them are just raider assholes. They're just
Are they?
going. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I thought so. I mean, they dress like raiders. They act like raiders.
Yeah,
they're
they do,
raiders.
and they certainly act like just plain raiders. But it seems to me a very odd idea that you would try and use those people to secure a person. They don't give a fuck. They're not going to.
I guess you use what you got, but yes.
Yeah, there were some very odd things that didn't make sense, and sometimes there was a stretch on how stupid some of the characters are.
See, I didn't mind that. That's very Fallout. Like, people being stupid is very Fallout.
It kind of, yeah, I know it is, but it's I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. There was
like you're either dealing with like irradiated mentalists on the surface or massively naive vault dwellers.
Yeah.
In many ways and quite rightly too. Like the ghoul is probably the smartest of the bunch. Where he does kind of, he was pre-war and understands.
Yeah, there was a couple of lines that really made me groan.
Okay.
So when they're in the vault, was it Vault 4?
Yeah, one of the
When they're in Vault 4, it's a sort of slight spoiler. When they're talking to the head of the manager, as it were, or whatever it is, the
overseer. 4.
Yeah, the overseer. When they're talking to the overseer, the one-eyed overseer.
Yeah.
He makes this thing about foreigners and immigration and stuff, and you're like, okay, I see what you did there, right? Okay, that's where you stand, right? Fine, okay, that was a bit like, fuck off.
Well, again though, it's very Fallout. Like, I can't really argue. Like,
it is, but that to me was not Fallout. That was more the makers trying to.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think there was another one later on where they're talking about communism, and it's like, you can fuck off.
Again, though, communism and Fallout.
Yeah, it is, but the line about what was it? I can't remember the exact wording on it, but it was something like, "Oh, calling someone a communist is just what dumb people do to clever people." Basically, it's like,
okay,
really?
I must have missed that line. I didn't
really.
So
it's like,
that's a bit
fuck
much.
off. It's in the after the. I mean, even that's the meeting at the thing where basically they try and persuade him to bug his wife.
Yeah.
When she's talking about, well, she's not Moldiver yet, whatever she was called in the past.
Yeah.
But she's like trying to. She has that line about like stupid people and communism and stuff. It's like, fuck right off. Absolutely, just fucking do one. But I will say, with all some of the dumb stuff that happens in this series, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a blast, honestly.
I really enjoyed it, and I know telling someone to fucking switch their brain off for most of it is just wrong to do, but you kind of, but sometimes you have to.
Sometimes you have to, and I'd agree with that. I think when you. I think if I had the biggest issue with this would be the villain. Her plan doesn't make much sense.
No,
that I don't want to spoil too much about the show, but that was like probably the biggest issue I had. But overall, I mean, I really enjoyed the journey. I really enjoyed the characters. I did like Maximus, and I loved the Ghoul as well as Lucy. So
for me, almost every moment with the Ghoul and with Lucy was fantastic.
Especially when they're sharing screen together, they're superb together.
Yeah. Oh, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, there's weird little details that don't really, like after. Okay, slight spoiler. When Lucy gets her finger cut off,
yeah,
and she's sold off, and the thing fixes her finger, but he's going to harvest her organs. What? Why?
I don't know. I kind of assumed it was because then you've got a whole hand to harvest at some point, rather than a hand with a missing finger. Like you've got a working hand if you're going to harvest it later.
I guess I'll buy that.
I don't know. That was my takeaway. I could be. I guess maybe I'm giving it too much credit. I just thought he was like because I thought he's harvesting organs, so he's just gonna basically buy. Although, well, no, actually, it doesn't make necessarily sense because he does have fingers that are just lying around. So I guess in theory, he could just not do that. Yeah, maybe you're right. That my takeaway was like, oh, I guess he's done that to have like a whole hand ready, and kind of preserve the finger. But you're right, he had other fingers. So yeah, I don't know. It's a fair point. Yeah.
It's I mean, it's just weird little things like that sort of kind of bugged me.
I think I was distracted by Matt Berry at that point. I was like, "Yay, Matt Berry!"
I was just gonna say Matt Berry is Mr. Handy's fantastic.
I really enjoyed that we got to meet Cogsworth before he became Cogsworth. That was great.
Yep.
I kind of want Matt Berry to do the voice from now on in all the games, though.
I mean, do that. That's you sort of kind of have to, surely, doesn't it? I guess unless you get different personalities for them.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a really, for the most part, really well done.
Yeah.
Because you've got, from my perspective, at least two fantastic characters that are really enjoyable.
I absolutely concede that Maximus is my least favorite of three. I will absolutely concede that, but I did enjoy his story anyway. And I
you actually quite like the brother as well. Her brother in the.
I really liked that. I thought I thought once we left the vault with Lucy, we would never see the vault again, and I really enjoyed the vault subplot that was going on.
Yeah,
I quite enjoyed that. Yeah, and her brother's great.
There was another line in there that was a bit stupid, but other than that. I really like the fact that he was, that he was a coward that, was kind of the only one that noticed things going on and
yeah,
I really like that, and I love Chet. Is it Chet? The cousin. The
cousin that wants to get with his cousin.
Yeah.
I loved when she was like.
He's
Chet,
so lovable.
We've talked about this.
I love that. Oh dear, door's broken.
Yeah.
We'll have to try again some other time. And I love the although her character I thought fell away a little bit, the pregnant woman.
Oh, she was great. Yeah, I agree.
The scene where she makes him dress up in her husband's things to jump his bones was brilliant. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
So
because she even looks at the picture of her dead husband when she does it as well.
I mean, I think sometimes I think overall, I would say it actually probably leans too much into you having knowledge of them. I think sometimes if you didn't know anything about Fallout, you might be a little lost.
I'd be curious to know, because I don't know anyone that's seen it who hasn't played the games, so I'd be very curious of someone's opinion.
My wife's never played the games, but she's watched me play them.
Yeah, that's what.
So she knows enough to, get in, notice. I mean, she's not going to notice some of the things in the background that you normally would get, that you or I would go, oh, that's that, or that's that.
Yeah.
But she knows enough to know, she knows dog meat, and she knows the armor, and she knows some of the factions. So even she had a bit of an up there. But yeah, I would be interested to know if you know, if you had no idea how well you took to it.
Yeah.
And I think so. I do think, and I've heard this said on by other people, that I think they would have been better having the first episode just Lucy, and then the second episode, or you know, because I think
I would have probably done an episode per character to start with.
Yeah, I think that would have been better, because I think, especially starting in the wasteland. Sorry, starting in the vault and then going to the wasteland, because I think it would have
mirrored that player experience.
Yeah, you would have, anybody not in the know of the Fallout world would be introduced to those things as Lucy is, and I think that would have worked better.
Yeah.
Than what we got, but what we got was actually pretty good.
I think it was great. I had a really good time. I mean, there are always issues with these shows, but in terms of a video game adaptation, it's
fucking hands down the best video game.
I'm struggling to think of a better one. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I haven't seen The Last of Us, and I'm not going to. I loved the first
no, actually,
game.
I've heard good things, but I've not watched
I
it.
have.
So I've not watched the show.
I love the first game so much
that
I am not fucking touching it. I just don't want to. I don't want my memory of the game
I get that totally
spoiled
at
all, because I think that first game was wonderful, and I don't actually think it needed a sequel, but I don't want to watch I'm not going for the series, but I think this is a really good, you know, despite some fucking weird plot contrivances and some odd decisions in what characters do, I really enjoyed it. I just couldn't. It was one of those sort of things. I'm just enjoying it. I couldn't help it. There was.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree.
And I would happily watch a second season. I think they've now confirmed that.
I think it's done well.
Yeah, and if nothing else, the conversation about this that's going on between like Fallout factions, as it were, is provided enough evidence that people have watched it.
Okay.
So, because you've got you love the original games, and there are people that like the older games.
Yeah, I like
the newer games.
I don't hate the newer games. I just
don't.
For me, it's not what I wanted, but they're fine.
There are people that are almost militant about it.
Oh yeah, you get that.
I think that's kind of what some of the conversation has been, which is
okay. I think you get that.
I'm quite funny.
I think you get that with any kind of property like that.
And I know some people have said that it breaks the continuity of New Vegas.
I don't know that it does, but I wouldn't claim to be like an expert on lore.
That's the problem I have, is that I remember the stuff with the dam and the fighting the Legion and stuff. I don't remember nuances enough that I would know.
Yeah.
So I think there are some people that are claiming there is. Some people are claiming that it's not. So I don't know enough with this. You know, I don't remember enough of the story well enough to say either way.
Yeah.
But I from what I remember, I don't think it does. But I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it to anybody. I guess especially for the later games more than the earlier ones. But
well, I mean, the series is clearly modeled more on Fallout 4 than any of the others. And in that regard, it really does nail that aesthetic.
Yeah, it does. I mean, yeah, every little detail is just so well done and so well thought about. And I think with love, actually, and with care, they've genuinely done just a top-notch job of transferring it to the screen.
It's interesting, you know, with so many terrible video game adaptations over the years. It's really refreshing to be like, I mean, I almost wasn't going to watch it because I was so sure it was going to be terrible. Like I was at that stage of like, and maybe it's my low expectations that allowed a lot of the stuff that's bothered you and apparently other people. Maybe it was my low expectations that allowed that to kind of pass me by and not bother me that much. But you know, I've gone from like dreading this release and just being like, oh god, I can't even be bothered, to seeing a couple of clips and being like, oh, actually, doesn't look bad, and then watching it and thoroughly enjoying it.
When you've got stuff like that fucking awful Halo series in them.
I never even watched that, but yeah.
Oh, I watched.
I hear it's terrible.
I watched 3 episodes.
I've seen clips of like, you know, the wooden gun where they just didn't bother to paint the gun or CG the gun or anything. It just got wooden props lying around and God knows what. It looks really bad. And I mean, and the mask thing. I know he takes his helmet off, right? Like almost immediately.
Yeah, there's a series that they literally went, oh, we've got this IP. We want to do our own thing with it.
Yeah, we know better.
We have no intention of doing what existed before.
Yeah,
we are just going to completely do our own thing with it. And thank fuck they didn't do that in this.
Yeah,
you know, because that. I mean, like I said, I only saw 3 episodes of that series, and that was a fucking enough to make me go no. So yeah, I would recommend it, despite its flaws.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say it's worth watching just for Walton Goggins and Ella Purnell.
I agree. Those are standout performances and well worth watching.
And I like that. I saw an interview with Ella Purnell, and some of the stuff that I thought was quite funny with her was that, you know, there's a scene where they're in the desert and there's that massive shipwreck.
Oh, the shipwreck that's in a lot of things, yeah.
Yeah, it's the shipwreck in Namibia. I think it's Namibia.
It's like any post-apocalyptic movie that can afford to shoot there. They're like, yep.
They basically just helicoptered out to the middle of nowhere for them to do this like one shot, and then went home sort of thing. It's like, Jesus, you know, that's fucking commitment to sort of real things and not just doing it on CG.
Yeah, yeah.
And she said that there was a quite a funny one I like when she said that they asked her what was it like meeting Walton Goggins in the Ghoul sort of thing, and she said, oh, initially really intimidating, but then she said she sort of saw him from a distance in the full get up, and she was looking, and she thought, oh god, this is a bit terrifying. And she said as she got closer to him, she realized she could see that he was crying.
Right.
And she thought, oh, that's weird. He's crying about something. And as she got like closer, and like she could see this, you know, water coming. It turns out that the only way for sweat to get out of that makeup is through the holes in his eyes.
Oh my god. That sounds awful.
So he was just sweating out of his eye sockets, basically, in that mask.
That sounds absolutely terrible.
Yeah. She said it did somewhat take the edge off of the initial appearance of the ghoul.
Well, I imagine he had a nose as well, which is kind of always weird.
Yeah, I expect so. Probably just blacked out, isn't it?
Blacked out or something, yeah.
Blued out, whatever.
But yeah, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I'm excited for more. Another season would be interesting. I definitely recommend it. Yeah,
I would, especially if you like the later games. I think it's perfect for those.
Mm-hmm.
And I think mostly it's just a fun time.
Yeah, I mean that is it, right? It was fun escapism. I laughed a couple of times, and you know,
I was a little bit disappointed that Michael Emerson was only in it for as short a time as he was.
Yeah, there were some interesting cameos actually.
Michael Emerson.
Yeah,
he's so good, and I did like that. I mean, a version of Dogmeat. You know, we both.
I was worried every time he was on screen.
I know.
I was like, no, please don't.
Do not kill the dog.
Don't kill Dogmeat.
I love the gulper.
Yes.
That thing was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, some great stuff.
The mouth in particular was...
Oh, with the fingers?
Gross.
Yeah.
That was just wonderfully gross. I really liked the design for the gulper.
Yeah. No, it was great.
Yeah. And I did actually... I loved the... You know, that they showed you how horrific some of those vaults can be when she sees the tape of what the vault's initial plan was. You go, wow. Because I do love some of the vaults are fucking crazy, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, even back in the original games, you know, they were designed not only to kind of keep people for humanity's sake, but also to perform these social experiments. You know,
yeah,
like giving a vault not enough water chips, which is what basically starts the first game off. But yeah,
and I don't know whether this is true, but somebody I was listening to said the actual idea of the vaults was to experiment on humanity, because actually the plan was to leave the planet.
I can't remember. That might be, maybe.
And I didn't remember that as a thing, but if that is, it sounds very feasible.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I remember Fallout 2 expands quite a lot on some of the lore. But yeah, I don't remember that specifically, but maybe.
No.
Like I said, I wouldn't claim to. My memory's too bad to claim to be an expert on Fallout. It's I played the games when they came out back in the 90s, and I've played the new ones, but yeah, I wouldn't claim to, you know everything when it comes to the lore and stuff. So, but yeah, what else have you watched anyway?
Fast Charlie.
Fast Charlie. Speaking of people, they're aging well.
Yes, incredibly so. Yeah. So Fast Charlie is Pierce Brosnan, Morena Baccarin, and the last on-screen performance of James Caan.
Oh, okay.
So this is Brosnan plays Charlie Swift, he's basically a fixer for a mob in is it New Orleans? I think it's New Orleans. It's in sort of Louisiana anyway, so it's that sort of south sort of thing, and he is doing a southern accent, which is okay. It's all right. It's not the worst I've heard, but I don't think it's the best southern American accent I've heard. But it's okay. So he basically plays this sort of in the sort of fixer for this mob boss, who is James Caan, who is basically he's basically got dementia, and he's losing his memory, and he's failing. But Charlie kind of looks after him. He makes sure he's well fed. He makes sure he gets his pills, and he's still doing his job as the part of this organization.
Yeah.
And the organization as a whole is one of those. It mostly seems to be full of old guys now, and the younger ones are beginning to come up. But this particular outfit, who kind of answer to someone else, there's like a higher boss, as it were.
Yeah.
And the higher boss is kind of encouraging the newer sort of gangsters to come up. Charlie's given this job to assassinate this guy, but he has to take this kid with him, this new kid who calls himself Blade, I think it is, because he stabs people.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a complete nutter fucking lunatic.
An edgelord. Yeah. This kid.
Yeah. He turns up late, and when he turns up, he's got this idea that I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to disguise myself as a Krispy Kreme guy, and I've already phoned him, and I've told him that he's won some Krispy Kremes, and he's got, look, my T-shirt, I've made it myself. It's got Krispy Kreme on it, and Brosnan says to him, it's spelt with 2 Ks, right? And he's like, who knows that? And he's like, well, clearly you fucking don't. So they get there, and he runs in, he delivers these donuts, and he comes back into the car, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? That was the target, wasn't it? He's like, yeah. He's like, why didn't you fucking stab him then? You're called Blade. What are you doing? And he's like, no, I had a brilliant idea. And then you hear this explosion. So they go into the sort of thing, and it's like, they've blown his head off.
Right.
He put some explosives in the donuts. He bit into it, blew his head off, right?
Yeah.
Charlie's like, how the fuck are we supposed to identify him now? How are we supposed to get the money? You've just taken his fucking head off.
Yeah.
So then you've got this sort of, they have to learn how to identify him. so they end up with going to this guy's partner, who played by Morena Baccarin, who is his estranged wife, who's like, she's a taxidermist, and she's like, initially, like, she's a bit hostile to them, but they come to an understanding, and she's like, well, he's got a tattoo on his bum that you can identify. Anyway, that happened. That's sort of all the minor stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
What then happens is there is a betrayal, and Charlie ends up being the last person standing in the old mob.
Uh-huh.
So then it basically becomes a sort of revenge movie, and I won't sort of go into any more details than that. Other than that, I really enjoyed this. It is a proper old school sort of gangstery sort of action movie that's, not too over the top on the action. It's not, you're not getting John Wick action here. You're getting a little more sort of, old school sort of action going on. He is great as this sort of, aging gangster who's got this core of honor for him, that how things should be done, how he does his business, and he likes to cook, and he's obsessed with Italian food and things, and you get this
right.
You do get this sort of lovely little sort of romance going on between the two characters, and kind of like we were saying earlier on, with where you've got we were talking about younger actresses with older guys. It works here because one, Morena Baccarin isn't as young as she is some of the actresses they could have cast, but that they feel like they're actually quite a good match for what's going on in this movie. And I really like their interactions between each other. She's this person that's been kind of shat on by her ex, but she's really sort of, she kind of just accepts what's going on, because it's like, well, I could either kick up a fuss and like be a dick about it, or I could just go, okay. And he's like really impressed by her. He's like, you're really sort of interesting. And there's a thing about, he asks her why she's a taxidermist, and she says, I mean, it sounds like it's a really weird sort of reason, but it kind of makes sense. She says, I like animals, and I want to make sure that animal gets almost like an immortality.
Right.
It's like I make them up so that they have expressions on them and so that everybody will see that animal. She says, I'm kind of giving them a dignity in death that they wouldn't normally have. And you go sort of, well, that sounds like bollocks, but it kind of makes sense for her character.
Yeah.
So it sounds dumb, but it works for her. James Caan is in the, it's a small role, and he was clearly very frail at the time.
Sure.
He's all of his scenes are in a wheelchair, and it looks like he looks like he's struggling, but he's still wonderful in the little role he has. He's still a commanding presence despite the age and the infirmity. He's really quite good in the small role he has. Excuse me. Kenneth Gar's great. The bad guys are suitably bad guys. You're not going to get anything spectacular in this movie. It's not.
Sure.
It's not the best movie you're ever going to see, but what it is a solidly made gangster movie with two great leads. And it's just actually a fun, sort of in times quite gory movie. There's some nice little shootout moments, and there's some bits where you go, yeah, that's to be expected. And he's not, although there are some sort of injuries he gets. He's not Bond, and he's not like a full on John Wick guy who keeps getting up and is over the top.
Yeah,
he feels like he's a guy that at times feels like at any moment he could just die horribly.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed it. It's a nice sort of standard old-fashioned feeling gangster movie that I just got a real kick out of. Yeah, it's like I said, nothing spectacular. Nice, even sort of keel. Loved it. Really loved it.
Cool. Well, that's all you need sometimes.
Yeah.
So, also, you watched Rebel Moon Part 2.
I did.
Do you want to tell us about?
My review of Rebel Moon is going to be very swift. I mean, it was honestly after the last one, I thought, no, I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna hope it gets better.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's always that hope. I lasted like 20 minutes into the first one and gave up, but you bless you, you kept going. So I gather the second one hasn't.
I got halfway through it and was like, I actually went to bed. I thought, fuck this shit, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to sleep than finish
yeah.
this movie. And I thought, today I thought, oh, am I going to bother? And I thought, no, I thought, I'm going to finish it off. So I finished it off today. Oh, it's just so boring. It's so fucking dull. And it shouldn't be. There's so many sort of people that I know can act in this movie.
Yeah.
There are so many things that should be good in this movie, but they're not. Everybody's a fucking personality void. There's a love story that just... There is no connection between these two people, but we're supposed to go, oh yeah, this is really lovely and sweet, and they really are in love. No, they just feel like two people that randomly decided they're going to kiss. It's like, fine, whatever. And the bad guy is just so ridiculous and so over the top, but not even in a good way. Like, you can have a bad guy who's over the top and ridiculous, but he doesn't even feel like a threat. He's a non-entity. Everyone's a fucking non-entity. And it opens with a voiceover, Anthony Hopkins voiceover.
Who, by the way, the only character I liked from the first movie, from what I saw of it, and you told me was barely in the movie. So.
Oh, literally, what you saw of him, that's it in that movie.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't bother.
He basically is in it for the first 5 minutes, and then he fucks off, and you see him again briefly at the end where he's acquired antlers for some reason.
Okay.
And so this you get the in the galaxy of Flibble Flobble and in the small movement of things and
yeah
and ooh the people of harvesting, like simple farmers, and it's like, oh, even Anthony Hopkins sounded bored delivering this bloody monologue. It was awful. And when in this movie he turns up at the end and totally kicks ass, and then that's kind of it. It's like, oh, really? Okay, fine. I mean, oh my god! And I know this is it's a Zack Snyder thing, and it's constantly taking the piss out of. But the slow mo in this is just agonizing.
Oh yeah, he is gone. He's lost his mind with that stuff.
Completely fucking.
The problem I had, especially with the first one as well, is that if you're going to do slow motion, then at least have your stunt actors know how to fight.
Yep.
Because when you have actors that don't know how to fight or bad choreography, you can probably get away with some of it if it's not in slow motion. But if you then decide to slow it down, it's painfully obvious where, even in the first 20 minutes, it was painfully obvious where she should have been stabbed in the back numerous times.
Yep. I mean, there were levels of slow-mo in this.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
And it's the same with the first one. You get slow-mo, and then it slows down even further.
Oh, no.
And it's like, why? no, please stop. It and there's a scene, right? So I kid you not, there's like I mean, it felt like longer. It's probably only 10 minutes. Really, it might not even have been that, but there's 10 minutes of them bringing the crop in.
Oh wow!
But it feels like 20 minutes.
I mean, 10 minutes is quite a long time to watch people bring crop in.
It probably isn't. Honestly, it probably might be 5 minutes, but it felt like half an hour of just them bringing in the crop and pounding it with, utensils and oh my god! It's like, can this end now? Can this please be over? Stop harvesting the crop now. This is really fucking awful. And then there's this scene where they're in this sort of hall, and Jimon Honsu's character Titus says, like, they're all sat around this table, and he comes in and he says, "Well, you all need to know who you're working with, and I need to know who I'm working with. So I think we should all tell each other our stories."
Oh no. No, because we had that in the first one. That happens in the first one. She comes back from a day of work, and the guy who knows her and has been with her like most of her life is like, "Tell me about your life." It's like, what the fuck am I watching? That was in the first movie, so they did it even worse in the sequel.
Oh, it's worse than this because they literally go through each character.
Oh, they can't.
He says, "I'm this, and this," and then you get a little flashback to him in the past. And then it goes on to the next person. I'm this person.
So awful.
It's like
writing
an
101.
Anonymous scene. It's like, hello, I'm an alcoholic. Blah blah blah. It's literally, and you get with each person
basic screentelling, basic fundamental screentelling.
Yep. Each character gets a little flashback to their life.
Unreal.
And tells you that I grew up on this place. When the bad guys came, it was terrible, and it's like, oh my god, what on earth? Why?
Well, I've got to say, Matt, there was a moment this weekend, because you said last week, you were like, "Oh yeah, Rebel Moon 2's out," and I was like, "Oh fuck that." And then on the weekend there was a moment when I was like, "Do you know what? Now that I've got the weekend, I could watch it." Right, but then I was like, "Oh god," then I'd have to because I haven't watched the first one, so I'd have to finish watching the first one, or probably start watching it again, and then do the second one. And it's Zack Snyder, so they're probably like 3 hours long or something.
This is only 2, thankfully.
Oh, well, that's merciful.
Thank God it was only 2. It felt fucking like...
But I must admit, I'm very glad I didn't know. So...
Oh, it's just... I mean, and of course, at the end it says, "Oh, we still haven't dealt with the major threat yet. We still haven't dealt with, what's his name? Belisarius or whatever. I think that's the name of the band. Yeah, Belisarius. We still haven't dealt with Belisarius. He's the person that, and also... spoilers if anybody gives a fuck. The princess from the first movie that was mentioned, she's actually still alive. She's not dead. Oh, we've got to go and save her.
Oh, no. Are they going to make more?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Netflix are just going to throw money at it anyway.
Well, not only that, I think I did tell you the other day, but I'll say it for the thing. He is doing different alternate versions of these stories.
You did tell me this. This is mental.
So he's going to reformat this story with other takes or other shots of the characters and the actors delivering their lines, and it's going to be slightly reconfigured storyline, so that it will be an alternate universe's version of this story.
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I can only assume that the release the Snyder Cut thing, that fandom has driven him insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that has gone so far to his head and his ego. It's the only takeaway I can get from this. That he decided to make a film that not only is he going to do even more extended cuts of, like, that's become his thing now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the guy that goes back and does even longer cuts. But he also purposely went out of his way to not just as a result of making a film, have outtakes, have different takes, but to go out of his way to film a whole different set of takes.
Yep.
So that he can release a new cut, this like the same movie but an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Where the alternate universe is pretty much exactly the same, but from a slightly different angle and a slightly different tone to their voice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they said this in a slightly different pitch.
They said it in a different way this time.
What on earth is this man doing?
It's mental. Absolutely mental. It's just totally insane. I mean, for Christ's sake, how Doona Bay and Jimon Honsu are wonderful actors. They have both delivered heart-wrenching performances. Here, it's like they're hollowed out corpses.
Yeah.
It's like their bodies, but no one's in it. It's truly terrible. And honestly, I mean, I've been a defender for Zack Snyder for a long time.
You have, yeah.
And I can't do it anymore. I honestly can't. This is. I mean, he's directed lots of movies at this point.
Yeah, there's no excuse
simple
to
mistakes.
This. Yeah.
In just shot setups and action setups, and it's fucking appalling. A person with his experience shouldn't be doing this badly.
I think he's believing the hype.
He must be.
He's like, you know, all the fans are behind me. I make this high art and people just don't see it, but this group of people see it, and I'm gonna. And then people are like, no, you don't set a camera up like that. And he's like, but the artist formerly known as Zack Snyder does.
He's also using a lens that's got a flaw in it.
Oh, really?
He's purposely using a broken lens.
Oh my god!
To film scenes with. So you do that sort of thing on an art project.
Yeah, I was going to say that feels like an art student project.
You know, a small art movie that you and your friends want to do, or just actually no. Let's be generous. Just an art movie, high concept art movie. You do that for.
What's the flaw?
In the lens.
Yeah.
It's got like a scratch on it. You can see it. You can see it on some of the shots. You can see the flaw in the lens.
Do you know how easy it would be to bloody add a scratch in post?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like,
I don't know.
Because if it's a flaw in the lens and it's a scratch on the lens, that scratch is in the same exact place on every single shot of the film. That would be the easiest thing. You could do an overlay. Yeah. Like, it would be the easiest thing to do to put that in post. There's absolutely zero need for that. That's just, I think he's, honestly, I think he's just lost.
Yeah, he's gone.
And I think I'm more surprised that Netflix are continuing to fund it.
Yeah.
To be honest. Like, that to me is mind-blowing.
I mean, I'm totally done. I'm not going to watch any of the other.
And that is saying something, because you said before.
And I'm not going to watch any of the fucking redos or whatever the fuck he's calling.
No. That is really saying something, though, because you have defended him before.
I have. I've defended him many times. And
this is it. This is the line.
Honestly, I just couldn't. I can't. It's so bad. It's so shit and so incompetent. Honestly, I'm more surprised at how baffled I am that he was given this amount of money to make something so bad.
Wow.
I don't like. You'd think with the cast and the the amount of people in it, at least there'd be one person that felt like he was a character or a, like. The whole sort of, even a broken clock is right twice, Yeah. At least by mistake, someone should have been able to
even
do
by accident,
half decent. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But no.
And you're not dealing with untalented people here.
No. There are good. I mean, even Sophia Boutella, I've seen.
Yeah.
really good performance. Ed Skrein or Screen is the bad guy. He's been in some good roles before. He's fucking terrible. And I'm sure they told that clearly.
That's direction, yeah.
They wanted him to be stupid and over the top and awful, but it just doesn't work. I mean, there are even within the technology stuff within the movie, the bad guy stuff. There's a very sort of almost Second World War feel about a lot of the technology. There are like things like gun emplacements are moved with little, the little wheels, the little hand wheels, right?
Yeah.
There's a scene, right, where they've got near the end, they've got the fuck off great battleship Yamato looking ship above the moon sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they're on the top. They've got a great massive double barrel gun emplacement, right? And there's a soldier moving the emplacement into place to fire on the thing, and he's doing it with these two little wheels, that to move it around. And it's the longest, most tedious look. It's like, how long does it take you to fucking move this gun into place with these two fucking wheels? I've seen gun emplacements in the Second World War being moved. You can get some fucking speed on those things. You can move those around quite quickly when you want to, because you kind of have to.
Yeah.
This takes forever. It's like, and because there's all these other technology that's like the actual sights on this gun are all like wazzy and flashy and technology. It's like, okay. And then not only that, the ship is coal powered.
What?
It has furnaces.
Oh my god.
The engine room has dudes shoveling coal into the furnaces to power the ship. But okay, now I love me some steampunk. It's one of my favourite things.
But then you have to be consistent with that world.
But then
everything's coal powered. Then cool, yeah.
But it's not. It's weird. It's like, why? Okay. And then they've got like laser guns, but laser guns that kind of are just machine guns. And you've got the laser swords that, like Nemesis, Duna Bay's character, the swords that she's using, she can only use. She wouldn't be able to use with her hands, her own hands.
Right.
So she cuts off her hands to install cybernetic hands to use the blades. Okay. Who fucking designs swords that you can't use unless you've got robotic arms?
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many dumb choices in this fucking movie that you just think, what? No, this is so weird. It's awful. It's honestly, it's like the biggest, most incompetent fucking, like, that Neil Breen guy. Is it Neil Breen?
Yeah, Neil Breen. Yeah.
Yeah, that dude makes those movies because he doesn't know any better.
Well, yeah.
I think he makes those movies to the best of his ability, right? Am I right?
Possibly. I think there's an element of him believing his own hype as well, though. I think the man has an ego for sure. True, but yes, he is that, but he does it on a much lower scale budget, and Zack Snyder's been given like all the money and effects and everything in the world. Mm-hmm. Did he write this? I think he did, didn't he?
Oh, I think so.
See, that's the problem with a lot of these directors. It's like, stay in your lane. You're a great visual director, Zack Snyder. I will never take that away from you.
Shay Hatton, Kurt Johnstad, and Zack Snyder wrote it.
All right.
It's got fucking 3 writers. How?
Well, there you go. Well.
Yeah, it's fucking awful. No one will watch it.
I will avoid at all costs. Thank you.
Do not watch it.
I don't. Yeah.
I after the first one, I thought maybe I won't watch the second one, but I kind of felt like I had to.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Part of me just felt like I had to watch the second one, and I kind of forced myself to do it, and Yeah. No, I don't get it. I don't get how it's so bad.
Wow.
It's honestly, it just feels like like you said, that he's just sniffing his own bloody farts and.
Well, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it?
It's truly terrible. Like honestly, I don't think there's anything nice I can say about it. Dude, Bay looks good.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, there's some technological, like the ships. Some of the ships look okay. The little tank things that they use look all right.
Yeah.
I quite like the pistols that she uses. They're quite cool. There you go.
Well, that is something. Damn. Well, that's that concludes all of the movies.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it.
A Deadpool Wolverine trailer that happened.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. Is it out? Is it?
Yeah, it was about 30 minutes, I think, before we started the show.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We'll talk about it next time.
I did see that trailer that you recommended. The what was it called?
Oh, the
McAvoy one.
Yeah, it looks kind of interesting.
So my wife really likes McAvoy.
Yeah.
And I said to her yesterday, I said, McAvoy's new trailer. I said, I've got to show you that later on.
Yeah.
And her response was, is he evil or mental?
Oh, both.
And I said, yeah. She said, all the movies she's seen of him in recent years, he's either been mental or evil in them.
Yeah,
that
is his thing at the moment. He has gone that way.
He's kind of fallen into that way at the moment, hasn't he?
He has. He does it well, though. That's the thing.
He does do it well. So, and I thought that I was totally on board for that. I thought that looked pretty cool from that trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like anything particularly revolutionary, but I think it's just McAvoy's performance looks fantastic, and the supporting cast look fantastic. So I'm like, yeah, could be fun.
Yeah, that looks like it's clearly on his shoulders. But yeah, I'm more than happy to give that one a go. I don't think there was any sort of news items that sort of piqued my interest. No, there's nothing at the moment. It's all a bit there.
So, what are we doing next week, Matt?
So, next week we will be doing From Dusk Till Dawn.
Indeed, we will. One that I kind of in the back of my head thought we might have already done, but I think you did a Cult Corner back in the day.
Yes, I would have done it. I'm pretty sure I did the Cult Corner back in the day, but not. Yeah. We have. I'm pretty sure we haven't done it.
No, I don't think we have. No. So yes, very much looking forward to. It's a good excuse to rewatch From Dusk Till Dawn, which is fantastic fun. So we will be back next week with our deep dive into From Dusk Till Dawn. Until then, stay safe, take care, and don't watch Rebel Moon Part 2.
Yeah. Stay away from it.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.